Nick Saban still getting paid by Alabama. He's got a new role that started on March 1st as basically a consultant for the program. He's getting paid over $500,000 a year. The salary is attached to a 40-hour work week. His format title changes from head coach to professional, according to athletic director Greg Byrne, who previously described his role as an advisor. So Nick Saban still attached to the Alabama program. And then Longhorn Network is going to relaunch on a streaming service. So Texas Athletic Director krld-fm said that it would no longer exist previously as Longhorn Network would move to the SEC Network and ESPN Plus, where the rest of the SEC schools' third-tier live programming is shown. But Texas owns all the content that broadcasts on Longhorn Network during its 13-year existence, and the Longhorn Network will be home to that. So if you want that, you're a Texas fan, you'll be able to get that via streaming service, have that 24-hour Longhorn coverage. I know you're pretty pumped for that as a Sooner guy.
Well, it's kind of similar. OU's had this for a couple years on ESPN Plus. They have something called Sooner Vision. Okay. So, like, they used to do one pay-per-view game a year. Now that pay-per-view game has moved to ESPN Plus, and they air, other sports like volleyball or golf or other OU things. And now you can watch tons of highlights on it. So I think it's kind of similar to that.
Okay, there we go. I didn't even know that Oklahoma was doing that.
They launched that, I think, 2 years ago.
Are there other schools that have that too?
They don't pop up in the front of my ESPN Plus.
Okay, maybe just knows.
I'm a little biased because
probably Oklahoma. Yeah. Right. Okay, we're all excited for College Football 25. Games going to be released here very, very soon. All week, they've been releasing their rankings. So we talked about the toughest places to play on the top 10 earlier this week. They've now released who are the top-ranked teams via the game. All right, so they've released the top 25, and number 1 is indeed the Georgia Bulldogs. They've got a 95 rating.
All by themselves.
All by themselves. Number 2, it's Ohio State. 3 is Oregon, but both of them have a 93 rating. Alabama comes in at number 4 with a 92. Texas at number 5, also with a 92 rating. Then Clemson, Notre Dame, LSU, Penn State, and Utah.
What are we doing with Clemson at number 6?
Do you think?
Can one of y'all explain this to me? Because I don't get it.
Obviously, they've been down the last 2 years. Maybe they're expecting them to figure things out. I mean, the ACC, they're the favorites, I think, coming into the season, aren't they? And Florida State's number 2 because you have a new quarterback there with Florida State.
The former Clemson quarterback, DJ Uiagalelei, is their starting quarterback
Who actually had a pretty good year with Oregon State last year.
He did. And really, even if you look at his numbers at Clemson, they're not horrible. They just, with Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson, they had such high expectations that they kind of ran him out of town.
Yeah.
And now they're down to Cade Klubnik, who we were talking off air. I don't even know if he's a top. I don't think he's a top 25 quarterback in college football.
Hard to judge. Yeah, I mean, he didn't look great last year, but neither really did Clemson as a program.
No, right? And they've had skill position players, and their defense, I think, was something that will hold up. Like, that's something Dabo has kept, even like when Brent Venables was there for the longest time, such a good defensive coordinator, he kept that defensive core strong. Dabo's been able to keep that going with his recruiting. However, the offense, I think, has totally suffered, and it just looks completely out of whack ever since, because Venables and their offensive coordinator, he left to be the head coach at Virginia a couple of years ago.
Right.
So those both coordinators, and like one side of the ball has been fine, the other has absolutely not.
So the other Texas schools that are ranked, A&M comes in at 14 on the EA game, and that's it. You got Oklahoma State at 24. Kansas is at 22 for those of you still clinging hope to the Big 12. Oklahoma, your Sooners, Carter, come in at 17. One spot behind Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes, who come in at 16. And I would guess are probably going to be one of the teams that, like, unless you are just a fan of one of these schools, I think everybody's going to want to try and play with Colorado. They're going to be a fun team to play with on the game with Shador and Travis Hunter.
And who else?
That's a good question.
See, that's the thing.
But oftentimes when you're playing a video game, it's like if I got a quarterback that can throw and run around, like Michael Vick we talked about in Madden, like, hell yeah, I'm going to crush people with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that's...
And throw it up to Travis Hunter. He's got to be one of the highest rated players in the game.
Oh, no, Travis Hunter.
He will be.
That's going to be a ton of fun. I don't know. I wonder if we can get the overall speed for Shador. I don't think he's like... I mean, I would say mobile.
He's
but not
pretty
like
mobile.
A running quarterback.
Yeah, he can run.
He's not like a RG3 or a Lamar, but he can move.
No, not that fast. RG3 was unique speed.
Yes.
I mean, that was unique track level speed. But you got issues with this, huh? With how they've ranked the best teams in the game?
Just a couple. I mean, the Clemson one, I think that is a vast overranking. Look at their last couple years, like the way Dabo runs the program, and this is video game rankings. Like, I think this is different than like on the field rankings. But even so, like, I don't think of Clemson, if I'm thinking of fun teams to play with, Clemson absolutely is not front of mind. Like we just talked about their quarterback, I'm not that big of a fan of, but I can't think of, they used to have like a Mike Williams or a Travis Etienne. Like they used to have fun offensive players. They don't have that anymore, at least ones that I can think of. But I'm shocked that Kansas State isn't up here. I'm shocked that Mizzou isn't up here. Mizzou returns a lot of their starting offense. They lost their starting running back who had like 2,000 yards last year. Other than him, quarterback's back, top couple receivers are back. They won 10 or 11 games last year. Like they would be fun to play with, I would think. And Tennessee has one of the brightest offensive minds in the game, and Josh Heupel, and they have a stud young freshman quarterback who's about to start for them, and they always score a ton of points in real life. So I think they'd be somewhere in the top 25. Now this, I will say, 16 through 25 are all 87s. So I imagine
they're all about clumped into the same area. Like somebody asked, "Where's SMU?" SMU, we don't know where they are in terms of team ranking because they're not. They only release the top 25 for the EA game. So SMU not one of those teams.
SMU was ranked on their top 25 offenses. They were number 20.
Okay, and Mizzou, to your point, was 9 on the offenses,
and they weren't on the defense, and I guess that balances it out. But and just watching the draft every year, Mizzou has several players, awesome defensive players drafted. Like, I don't think it's like a top-to-bottom incredible defense, but I don't think it's like, we're not talking like Vandy here.
What did you think about Georgia being number 1 in the offensive rankings?
You know what they were? That was something I didn't. Okay, again, so they're tied with Oregon. I would have put Oregon in front of them.
Offensive players when Bowers and McConkey. I mean, Carson Beck, and we talked about that. Like, there's a varying opinions on Carson Beck. I've heard many analysts say that they do believe he's the best quarterback in college football. Some believe he's going to be a top 10 pick. And then I know that others like us, like, but you're kind of like, are you a product of what has been around you? You know, how will he look when he doesn't have the freak show that is Brock Bowers, and who I believe is going to be one of the best rookie receivers in football, in Ladd McConkey this year.
Yeah, and they lost our offensive tackle that the Cowboys wanted, who went to Cincinnati, Amarius Mims.
Amarius Mims, also a freak show.
Now, that being said, Georgia's a machine, and the way they replace their trenches is just seamless at this point. That's the way Alabama used to do it. So Carson Beck is a dude who can get the job done, but like you said, he's losing the best tight end in football, in college football at least, and I think they'll hum for a while, especially because early in the season, well, actually no, they play Alabama, I think in the first month, I believe at the end of September, they play, and then they play Texas as well, and that's on the road. That's in Austin. So I don't think I'd have Georgia number 1. I think they're top 5 because they have all the talent in the world, but I don't think they're number 1.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. Can you say Tennessee's quarterback's name for us?
Nico Ayamaleava is how I've been saying it.
I think you crushed it.
I don't know.
I think you did a nice job on that.
Appreciate that.
You get credit at least. Probably not full.
I think I got the first name for sure.
You
pretty sure that one's Nico.
You crushed Nico.